Yo, what's up? So, episode 5 at the beginning after the end, we find Arthur where we left him in the hands of some guards, while Tessia stands there, non responsive. Immediately, Arthur catastrophizes this situation. He begins ruminating negatively. He perceives Tessia's face darkened, and his mind goes as dark. Ruminating, recounting, regaling in his mind all the times from his past life when he was betrayed. He thinks I should have known better. Of course, it goes this way. But he's completely unhinged and unbased in reality. His subjective perception is entirely incorrect. Also, time dilation takes place within his mind. So much negative experience and negative thoughts are coming up in a deluge, which is causing time to slow down. When you do something you hate and are stuck doing it, time slows down. Your perception of it does. When you're in flow state and doing something you love, time flies by, right? Much the same is happening here. But the problem with the scene is we are watching mostly from an objective third person view, not solely from Arthur's lens. So when Tessia stands there for far too long without reacting, taking way too long to respond to the injustice happening to her friend, it is awkward. There's no clear justification. I can say maybe she was simply dumbfounded by the sheer audacity of her guards to grab her friend and savior, but the anime doesn't give any clear indication that that is the reason. So the reason is it's Arthur's subjective perception, but we're watching it unfurl from an objective third person lens, which gives a janky awkwardness to the entire scene and makes it a bit confusing and muddles what actually is some great character writing deep underneath, which is what irks me so. My next biggest problem is how it handles the elves and the humans. There is a great prejudice, hatred, dissonance, and divide between the two races. Particularly, this anime handles the injustice and prejudice between elves and humans, with Tessia, the princess, as the solution. She goes indignant, spoiled princess mode, which solves everything. Whether it's the king, queen, or elven soldiers, she simply pouts, puts on her indignant face, and people capitulate and allow Arthur to continue. Which is cheap writing, does not solve anything, and ruins the chance to handle the gravitas of centuries old hatred between two races and closing that divide and mending that relationship. Closes off any route towards doing that. I believe the anime will do it through Arthur as a medium, but not in any significant, rewarding way. Just contrived, cheap tropes we're used to within power fantasy anime, which is unfortunate. The best part of the episode, though, is definitely the ex king, the grandpa. He reminds me much of Hakuryu from that time I got reincarnated as a slime, the ogre grandpa samurai type. Now we got the same exact character, simply elf form. He's cool, does the old one eyed open, one eyed close talk about things with a poised, sophisticated philosophical lens. He's also powerful, battles with Arthur at the end of the episode, animated terribly, but most of the show is, so can't hold a candle to that. But he also asks Arthur to be his apprentice at the end, which Arthur is a bit confused about, but clearly needs to, because his monocore is still in pain from last episode, and it's been getting worse this episode. The grandpa knows why. It's because he's taken on the beast's will, Sylvia's will, the dragon's will. I have a theory it's a mixture of two different manas. She has imparted mana onto him, mixed it with his regular mana, but because they aren't synergizing, they're conflicting, it's causing his body to rip apart. So he needs to train properly or he's going to die, the grandpa says. So I'm excited to see where that's going. We also, coming back to the main theme, the picture you see before you is finally the revelatory moment where Arthur understands why Tessia did what she did and understands what transpired at the beginning when he was captured. He never had someone get mad on his behalf before. He never had someone mad in his corner for him, because in his past life there was no one who cared about him. Therefore, he didn't understand what that emotion, what that experience was. And when they're watching these Fireflies type characters together, he finally has a revelatory moment and understands she cares and why she was standing there indignant and pouting because her friend was being handled with injustice. So it's great to see Arthur finally start to build slowly some humanity within him, starting to build some actual regular relationships between sentient, emotional beings, which is great. That's about it for the episode, though. Let me know what you guys thought. Peace.